Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dyslexia Lifehack Show. I'm your host, Matthew Head, and in this episode, I'm talking to Arran Smith. Arran is the founder of the Dyslexia Show, which is a live event being held in the NEC in Birmingham on March 25th to 26th, 2022. It's going to have lots of exhibitors and speakers on all things dyslexia, including myself, who's speaking on the Saturday. He's also the MD of Send Group, which offer webinars, training, and consultancy to education to empower teachers. He's the UK Dyslexia and Send consultant for Microsoft, and he's also a non-executive director for the British Dyslexia Association, along with much, much more. He describes himself as the dyslexia entrepreneur. As always, I will post links to anything we talk about in the show notes, which will be available at dyslexialifehacks.com/podcast. Welcome to the show, Arran.
Thank you very much, Matt. It's brilliant. So that's a very good question, actually, because we never discussed this. Do you prefer Matt or Matthew?
I prefer Matt.
That's fine, yeah.
But I don't really mind. Some people start off with Matthew, but everybody gets to Matt at some point.
I know. It's one of them things, isn't it? When you're doing something online, you have the name at the bottom, and then you got to go, right, just remember that person's name. Like, I'm a bit annoying because I always use my Twitter handle on mine, if you know. Yeah. That's at Arran Dyslexia, by the way, just to put it out there.
Of course. And I go with my normal name, but having done lots of pub quizzes during lockdown, there were various different names to remember to change if we went back to work in the morning. I did the scout group. We were doing the scout group, and that was my issue, that any other call I could change the name, but every time I went on their call, they had to change my name, and I can't spell Bagheera. So no. Yes,
that's the thing.
Me neither. And actually, none of those Jungle Book characters would be that easy to spell, would they?
Car, K-I-E, I think it is.
Yeah, not C-A-R.
Not C-A-R, no. I know it begins with a K. So it's all good fun.
What I wanted to start off with, really, is that the British Dyslexia Association gets mentioned quite a lot in various podcasts. So I thought, seeing as you're a non-exec with them, you'd like to be able to expand a bit more what they're for and how they work.
So I've been involved in the BDA probably for probably at least 20 years. So my history with them starts with that here in Leicester, where I live, we have a local dyslexia association that's affiliated to the BDA. And when I was about 16, 17, I was taken to a national event. And these were held in London, and there were mainly what we call local dyslexia associations there. And at the time, supporting corporate members. They were the other group of people, which are now called organizational members. And that's what I remember going to them. And I remember sitting down watching grown men discuss, probably argue a bit about constitutions. And a lady sat next to me and said to me, "Why are you not on my forum? Sign this form." And I went, "Okay, that's fine. Put your email address here." Like, first time I'd ever given anyone my email address outside school, and it was just a bit mad. So, but no, the BDA is a national charity. It's been around for 50 years this year, actually, as the voice of dyslexia, founded by Gene Orgar, if I remember correctly. I think that's right. And I'll need to double check that, of course. But,
of course. Show notes.
It's in the show notes, yeah. And it was there to support people. And I kind of was a volunteer. I was actually a volunteer through Leicester, and my kind of real journey started in 2009. I won my BDA Young Achievers Award I was vice chair of Leicester Dyslexia Association, supported in our local dyslexia workshop. Had been taught there, of course. I'd been a student there as well prior to that, and then when I was about 24, decided to join as a non-executive. So on their management board or their trustee board, was working at the time for a large retail company that didn't understand that dyslexia affects your day-to-day life, and was said, "You should look at the website. There might be a job that's there." 3 of us applied for it, and I got it, and I became the membership development officer. I was there for 5.5 years, and we did. At the time I was there, we had the national helpline with over 6,000 calls and 10,000 emails at the time. I think it's doubled that. We just started in the world of social media. It was the first Dyslexia Awareness Week that we hit 100,000 impressions on Twitter when I was there. And I remember actually the first Facebook page was actually a Facebook group. No, it was a Facebook profile, which you can't have now. No. And you had to have a Facebook page, and it was a group, and it was all a bit confusing, but we got it in the end. So yeah, but I used to help with conferences, used to help with membership, and now I sit on the management board as kind of that person who knows the history. Okay. I also represent what we call now organizational members. So I because Sen Group is a silver member of the BDA, that's how I can apply to be a member of their management board, and I was accepted by the members in September 2020. So at the AGM then. So I'm probably about 2 years into my 3-year term. So, and then I could be re-elected for another 3 years if I want to stand, and if someone else wants to stand. But an amazing charity, been around a long time, supported many people, has done many things for dyslexic people and things that we don't know about. Anything from ensuring that when you take your driving test, you get extra time to kind of arguing with MPs that dyslexia is not a middle class lazy disorder. I've had that. We had that 1 year. It's been an interesting ride, and it's been around a long time, and I quite enjoy being a trustee. I think that's something that for me, it's a voluntary role. It's there to support the charity and support the executive team that we've put in place.
Okay, how much time does that take up of yours? Because I know you're very busy with.
No, not that much. Probably we have about six meetings a year, and then I'm on a few committees as well. So I think at the moment, the more time actually is with being the vice chair of my governing body for my daughter's school. And I met one of the teachers, or the head teacher actually, at an event, and she said, "Oh, you're working for Microsoft." I went, "Yeah, I'm only a contractor." And she said, "Do you want to join our governing board?" And I went, "Yeah, okay. I better ask my wife first." And me and my wife agreed that it would be a good thing. So,
did your daughter agree?
Well, no, not really. So my daughter is nearly 8, and so the first time I was taken around school, she happened to say my name, as in Daddy, and she came out of school and went to my wife and said, "Daddy came into school today. I did not like it. Everyone asked who he was, if he was a teacher, if he was this." And I was like, "Well, you more like your fault." And the second time she saw me, and her head just went straight down, and she was like. But then actually, when I went for Christmas dinner, she came and sat next to me for Christmas dinner.
Yeah, that's all right. Then.
So that was fun. So she wasn't that bad. It wasn't. So, but no, that's interesting. That was interesting that I came as just, and I knew I was going to be the special education needs governor. I then became a member of the finance committee, and chair of the pay committee, and then vice chair of the whole governing body. So it was good. It's good fun. I do enjoy that. That's definitely an interesting concept for me because it's very strict in one way. So it's very different to being a trustee of the BDA. The BDA is very kind of, you make it as you make it. You kind of follow that kind of structure as a charity trustee. But as a chair, as a governor, you have a very strict kind of line, and it's so actually I really enjoy that. It's kind of good. It is, but no, it's being a dyslexic on there is really interesting.
Yes, I can imagine. Seeing the school system from the inside must be really fascinating versus what. Yeah, we've all experienced it because I get the impression by your early work with the British Dyslexia Association, you clearly found out you were dyslexic when you were quite young. Yeah,
I was 9 years old. Ooh. So I was, my story kind of, I have this story that I say to people that my dyslexia is like the going to the dentist. That's how I felt. So the day that my mum told me, I was really excited, and I remember feeling relieved, happy, overjoyed, because this is why I'm different. This is why I can't do this. I then went, no, this is horrible. I hate it. This is like going to the dentist. And that feeling of stress and anxiety is how I kind of describe it, because I think that's the way that people need to understand it. Is it can be hard. It can be can do lots of things. I've seen many dyslexics that are more than anything that they are erred by the system. The system has failed them, and that is the reason why. Because we know from me and you, we are high functioning dyslexics in one way. We are contributing to society. But for me, I'm still 37 years old. I have a reading age of a 9-year-old, a spelling age of an 8-year-old, and I don't automatically read words. It's really ironic. I walked around an exhibition with someone that works in the field of accessibility, and he says, "What do you think of it?" And I went, "Well, really and truthfully, they're just all a load of companies. I know them by sight, by the picture of their logo, but I may not be able to read what it says in their banner. And most of the time I can't read what it says on the banner." And that's the thing you see, is that's how it is for me. It's like the concept of the old saying of word blindness is definitely probably very true for me, because every word is letters and symbols. And I have to then try and read it. It is. And it's really hard to explain, because yes, I don't read automatically, but if I look at something like there's a set of Puritan on my desk. Right. Now that's probably been there since summer, but yeah, I wouldn't have actually ever read that word until now I've looked at it and told you it. I would have seen it and it would never have subconsciously gone in, because that's how my dyslexia affects me when it comes to reading.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could see that. You got the packet there. Do you know, when you said Puritan, bang, my brain brings in the packet. I've got the image floating in front of me, I know it's like a greeny colour with the sun on the left-hand side and the logo's in red.
Yeah. No, that's right. Yeah, no, that's it. That's right. Yeah, and it's an interesting thing, you see, and that's the thing, you see, that we see things very differently as dyslexics, and that's how it was. And like going through life, I was actually diagnosed by Dyslexia Institute, that was named as Dyslexia Action, and now it is now a different organisation. It's not a charity anymore. It's part of part of another training group, real training group. It's part of now, and so I and then school assessed me. I was very lucky when I was in year 4. I had a newly qualified teacher that was interested in dyslexia, and I read a book. I got given a book by her called "So You Think You Have a Problem." That's what the book's called, and the title is not good now.
No,
but the book is really good. And the first page, and I know this off by heart. I think I have a copy of it up there. Actually, it's the newer version. But it opens up and says, "There is many books written for you, for your mums, dads, and your teachers. I thought it was high time that I write a book for you." And this book then describes dyslexia to a young person and how it feels and how it reacts. And it was kind of that early book that kind of went, "Oh, this is what it is." But I never liked being called dyslexic. I was never called dyslexic. Sorry, I liked being called dyslexic. I was never called it. I was only called it at home. I was never called it in school. Not until I did my GCSEs.
No.
Yeah, I was SPLD. I had an SPLD, a specific learning difference, or specific learning difficulty.
Yeah,
I think
I remember.
Difference is what we would say now. Difficulty is what it was then.
Yes.
But the thing that kind of I say a lot whenever I do talks and do training for Microsoft, that when I was in my high school, I think it must have been in year 8, we were at a parents' evening, and so the first thing that my dad said, "Did you do that presentation?" So there was a computer trolley with a computer on that I'd carried up from the learning support room and put it next there, which basically had a slideshow. It had a PowerPoint on it, because I'd learned PowerPoint, and it had like head teacher this way, deputy head this way, registration this way with arrows and different slides. And at the end of it, it said, "Hope you like this slideshow." It didn't say that. That's what it said to me. It said, "Hope you lick this slideshow."
Yeah. I knew it was going to be lick.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, well, that's it. And my dad said, "Did you write it?" I went, "Yeah." But what happened there is that we were early to see that kind of like my casework was the best way to describe it. And my mum says I was there. I don't actually remember this, but this is what my mum. I remember my dad saying that, and then I remember my mum telling me what she said, and I remember my mum being upset, which my mum was never. Very rarely did I see my mum ever cry when I was younger. And what I was told at the time, she said, you do know that Arran will never amount to anything. He can't read, he can't write. He will never amount to anything. So don't expect it. And I don't know if that's subconsciously still been in my mind now. But actually, you've read my profile. I think that has changed dramatically. It is, and we've definitely kind of gone from working for the BDA changed that life. That was a big kind of career change. It was. I was previously working for a retailer. I enjoyed the job, but it took 3 alarms to get me out of bed. I was probably depressed. I wasn't in the right headspace. I was not making hardly any money. I was trying to run my first business. And I could never do that at the same time. And then the BDA said, "Come do this." My store manager hated it because I was on $4,000 more than she was when I got my new job as a junior member of staff.
Oh,
so she hated it. I'm dead sure that she made me stay an extra 2 weeks just because she could. But that's how it is. That's the thing. But,
it is, isn't it? And it's interesting hearing the kind of catalyzing moments in people's, should we say, dyslexia lives, where it's a change of job or a change of scenery or finding a training program that works. And then you kind of, the shift in momentum that's huge off the back. Oh, yeah. Of it.
Well, that's the thing, actually, thinking that. So like, I think I must have been about 23, I think it was. Because I think I was about 25 when I went. I was about 27 when I went to the BDA, give or take. I can never remember what year I started at the BDA, but I can remember what year I finished at the BDA. But while I was still working for the retailer, I was doing my specialist teacher for the Leicester Dyslexia Association. She was redoing her dyslexia course, and she had to teach an adult. And she wouldn't normally teach me because she's known me since I was 6. But she said, "You know what? I'd really like to teach you something different." And we did a program called Spell It. And Spell It, ironically, now this is testing my memory. So there is a comedian, Katie Brand.
Yes.
Yeah. So she's not the most famous. Yeah. She was in. What was in that program? She was in a film called with what's the film called? Nanny McPhee.
Yes.
She was in Nanny McPhee as one of the evil nurses or something, what she did. And but her grandmother made this program.
Oh wow.
So this was the thing. So I only know this because she came to a BDA event a few years later and accepted an award on behalf of her grandmother. But basically, and this Spell It program was very different to Alpha to Omega, Beat Dyslexia, and Nessie, and a few other programs that are out there that are for people with additional needs or dyslexia. And that really changed it. It really changed my kind of concept of reading and writing. I would never write cursively. I still don't write cursively now, but I learned how to write cursively. I had learned how to break up words into syllables. And I think my reading age went up. So I think the two, that and reading Twitter, changed my reading age. Because when Twitter used to be only 140 characters, it was really easy to read.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was definitely one of them. Like you said, that working for the BDA and actually leaving the BDA, being made redundant and having to leave in 2016.
Yeah.
That was a real change in life. Not literally leaving a job that I really enjoyed, an organisation that I believed in so much, was really difficult. We'd bought a house, we'd bought 2 cars, we were living enjoying a life. I think our daughter was 3, so it was fine. It was really good. And then, okay, now you've got to go and find a job. And I applied for 17 jobs and never got an interview for any of them.
Yeah.
And I applied for anything. I applied to be a head of a charity. I applied to be working at my local zoo. I applied to be working at my local theme park. I applied for anything. I was happy to go in any direction at all, because I went, you know what, it's changing circumstance. And I basically got asked by Professor Steve Chin to do some webinars for him. And I said to him, I'm not going to just do them for you. I'm going to do it myself. So I'd done some webinars for the BDA at the time. And I made the decision to say that, well, I can do them all about not just dyslexia. Let's do them about the whole of special needs, because I had enough contacts to go, and actually I can bring this person and bring that person, and we can kind of draw on this concept of SEND. And at the time, because it was 2016, so 2014 was the change in the legislation where the word SEND, it changed from SEN, S-E-N, to S-E-N-D. So I was like, you know what, let's go on the back of that. That's going to be around for a few years.
For people who don't know, what does S-E-N-D
mean? It stands for Special Education Needs and Disability. So SEND was Special Educational Needs, and SEND was Special Education Needs Disability. And it was changed in the 2014 Children and Family Acts reform. And it was chapter 3 or 4. Chapter 3, I think.
Okay.
Again, you can look that one up. That's the simple one. But that's why SEND Group came from. So SEND Group came from that. I invested in it. I set it up. Was very naive. So kind of thinking, you know what, I can do 3 webinars a month. I'll be living the easy life. Won't be an issue. Thinking back that when I was at the BDA, we would like getting like 200 or 300 people to a webinar once a month. Now, forgetting that the BDA is a national charity, it has a brand, it has a name, it has this organization. I'm doing it with I'm not doing it roughly around dyslexia. The first lesson was the first webinar I did was about dyslexia. I think in 1 or 2 a month would be fine. I got 15 people to that first webinar, which I think was pretty good going for a brand new company. Yeah. And I then realized I need to do a lot more. And it then just started. I then got asked to go and work for one of the organization members of the BDA. Did a few months with them. Then went and asked to go and do some more time with another one. I then got asked to go to St David's College in North Wales to do a review on their technology, and that review was basically on assistive technology, because that's what I enjoyed looking at. Yeah. And then after that, I basically wrote to a person I knew in Microsoft, because I'd done some. I knew that person from what I'd done in the world of dyslexia. He'd created a product called Immersive Reader, which was a plug-in to OneNote at the time. Right. Yes, it was, which is now everywhere in Microsoft. But we can talk about that later. And I sent him an email and told him what I was doing, and he went, can we have a Skype call? This was before Teams was invented, of course. And we had a Skype call, and he said, do you want to come and do 6 months with us? And I went, yes. So I started this contract, 6 months, was, again, a little bit naive, was like, oh no, you can't do that. You can do this. You can't do that. You can do this. And you need to do this and this. And I went, okay, that's fine. That's what I'll do. And it was the best 6 months ever. And then he said, well, I've got another year. Do you want to do another year? And I went, yes. And then that was 3 years ago, and we're now on our 4th contract with them. And it's amazing. It's because I can go to a school, I can support a school in the use of Microsoft technology around accessibility. It's technology I use every single day. I'm always in my Outlook, I'm in Word. These are the things I use. I very rarely deviate from the Microsoft concept because of the jobs that I do. Is like I'm communicating with people that way. Yes, I will use web software and so forth, but I don't often dictate into them, because I dictate into Word and copy and paste, because someone needs to check that it's right before I put it online. Yes, yeah. And that's the thing. So, but no, I think you are right about life-changing things. And in one sense, actually leaving the BDA was a really good opportunity for me. And yeah, we founded SEND Group and LVA Group 2016, 2019 Dyslexia Show, 2020 SEND Group International, and then 2022 we bought Read Successfully, which is the home of Trugs. Yes. So definitely the word entrepreneur is there for a reason, because for me, it's all about kind of growing ideas. And I was told by Dr. Kate Saunders, who was the CEO of the BDA when I was there. She said, you have a very interesting profile. She said, I could never assess you and I could never teach you because I know you too well. But you have a very strong dyslexic profile, as you know. You definitely have a dyspraxic profile, which I knew. And she said, but you sit really closely with the ADHD and ASD. So attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and autism spectrum disorder, as it was, or there's the D can change depending on which camp you sit in. And I didn't realize that until she said it, and I went, oh, and that's why I can do 17 jobs at once. That's why I like doing 17 jobs at once, and really like to go and mend the photocopy when it breaks, because it's a distraction.
Yes, yeah. I could sort that out. Yeah.
I got told once. So when I was working for the video, I'll tell you this story. So I was lucky enough to sit in the finance office. So because I'd been a trustee before I started working for them, I kind of, for the first 12 months, I kind of knew things like what they call management accounts, because trustees can see that. So the head to the treasurer of the charity never liked volunteers or members of staff sitting in finance, because there is things like payroll in there. There's sensitive information that is not for everyone to see. But he was like, Arran can stay there. He just knows that one day a month he's not allowed to walk on the other side of the building, the other side of the office. So there was 4 of us, and because that was the day that one of the ladies was doing payroll. And that was because, so basically there's the folder of the payroll that everyone's information's in. And I was just like, that's fine. And normally she did it when I wasn't in the office, which was fine. But, and now I've forgotten the story I was going to tell you, because of that I've told you another story.
You were mentioning about being distracted and fixing things like the photo.
Oh, that was it. Thank you. Yeah, that's good. Bring it back to. So we had a meeting I did with the CEO and the head of finance and the facilities manager. And they went, we need to stop asking Arran to mend computers and photocopiers, because we have a budget for our IT guy, which is an X amount. And we're like literally 3 months before the end of the year, and we've spent 300 quid. I think it was a $5,000 budget. And I can't really allocate it to Arran's budget because he's been fixing everything. So yeah, I did used to go and fix a lot of things. I do actually enjoy helping people. That was the thing.
Yes. And I think I don't know if you do this, but sometimes if sat in an open plan office with headphones off, I work as an engineer, so I'm designing or whatever I'm doing in my screen, and I'm hearing the conversation in various other bits of the office and half designing them at the same time in my brain. And how could that work in? Yeah, the problem, I could sort that out. Stop it, do my work.
Yeah. So an open plan office, I just don't think I could do it. I would be too distracted. We can see each other, of course. I know other people can't see me, but the office that I'm in, my wife sits next to me or just opposite me. And I actually find that really difficult sometimes with someone that I know really well, actually be in the room. So I find even dictating sometimes I get a little bit like that. So an open plan office is really hard. When I worked in an office, I used to go in at 7 and leave at 6. Go in at 7 in the morning, leave at 6 at night, because basically I needed them 3 hours just to adjust either side, just so I could actually get into it. Because when I was there, I was just literally too distracted. And I was always, when I worked from home, when I was at the BDA, I was more efficient and more. My mum and dad could never understand that. Even today, they don't understand that I'm at work. They ring me and try to have a conversation. Went, Mum, I need to go and do this. I'm at work. It's just like, oh, you're at work, using the air quotes in there.
No. I'm actually at work.
I'm actually at work. Then. So this is what I do, Mum. You know this thing where you said to me, go and get a proper job, and it's like, oh yeah, I've got a couple of companies doing pretty well, and I've been able to get a new car, and that's the kind of thing it is. It's like, there's still always room for growth, but it's not. I think going back to that, it's not about money. It's all about living. It's all about changing lives for people. And in one sense, I'm not always the best businessman when it comes to working with people, because even today, a teacher rang me up wanting to buy some membership for the Send group. Now I answer the phone. Now this is so the girls don't let me answer the phone because I always give them a discount. Like they were like, no, don't answer the phone. So because they're always like, no, give them I'm always like, oh, you paid that last year. Well, we'll just do it at this price. Is that all right? And they always go, you set a pricing structure for us to follow. Why don't you follow it? Well, because I forget. So
get all excited and keen and carried away. But I like the way the heart's in the right place.
Well, that's the whole. That's the whole point.
Money, yeah.
That's the thing. You see, it's like, I think, it's all good. I'm gonna let you ask me a question because I think that's the thing. I just keep the small thing. I will tell you this. I'll tell you this little story. So there's a speaker at Dyslexia Show called Penny Aston, and Penny has a saying that dyslexics have, and it's called DVD. Dyslexia, verbal diarrhea. We don't shut up.
Well, you're making my job as a host super easy because I don't have to do anything. But I am going to ask you a question, and I think what I'd like to do, I've got a list of stuff I can ask you about based on that conversation, but I'd like to get into the Dyslexia Show really and focus on that for a little bit. Where did the idea come from? In the first
Dyslexia
place?
Show came from an idea probably around 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I was at the BDA at the time, and I'd seen a few things. So I'm fascinated with events. I really like attending events. So I did conferences at the BDA. I did the BDA's international conference, and I thought they were just amazing concepts. I liked exhibitions, and I would go to the large exhibitions. I'd go to the BET show, I'd go to Education Show, I'd go to Special Needs London for the BDA, and really just find it fascinating how you go from this building site to the following day to this amazing street like show, and that was it. And I'd also saw that there was lots of local charities doing some amazing work for people, and so I had this idea to I said it to the board of trustees at the time when I worked there, let's put on a big event. So I did the piece of due diligence and realized it was going to be a lot of money. And one of the things when I left the BDA, the then CEO went, don't worry about it. It's yours. You came up with the idea. And I just sat on it. I didn't really think about it. I'd do it. And then moving into kind of then working for myself, I'd done some work, and we had the Leeds Dyslexia Festival, which 3 people created up in Leeds Patos and Yorkshire Rose Dyslexia Association. They did it as a joint event, and it was an amazing concept. And they had 1,000 people attend Ellen Road in Leeds, which is amazing, mad it is. The BDA ran a load of parents events, which were local parents events, and some of them had 50 people, some had 200 people. So I kind of think, I kind of got my head thinking. I went, the concept of Dyslexia Show is a real big idea. And on March 30th, March 31st, isn't it? I was up in North Wales, in Llandudno, where St David's College is, and we were running a very small conference. We had 50 people coming to a dyscalculia conference. And I had, again, Steve Chin, Professor Steve Chin, who's a big part of big kind of supporter of my life, I think, and I really support him because he's just helped me a lot over the past 5 years. Judy Hornigold and Pete Jarrod, we were all there, and there was a gentleman there from Dyslexia Box, and so and he was there for another reason. He was there because he was looking at some kind of project that he wanted to look at, that he asked me to help him with. And I said, you come to this event. So he came up, he doesn't drive. So I picked him up from the train station. I said, you can stay in this hotel with me. You can come with me you can either get a taxi to this place, but we're going to go to this pub and I'll take you with me. So he said, yeah. So he sat there just listening. And I said to these people, I said, this is the thing why we should do a Dyslexia Show, is because we need to bring together parents and educators to just have this national presence. And he then rang me the next day after we'd done the event. He said, "You need to come and tell me more about your idea about the Dyslexia Show." So I went away and did it. I went back to the NEC and started the conversation again with them, because one of the things that I thought was, and the one thing I could see was, is we need to have an event that's national. I felt what I felt was, is I think it said, lots of people said to me, start small and go big. And I kind of went, no, that's not the way you need to be. And I was right. We have to go big and stay big, because it has to be a national event. The concept of it is that it's a national event. It's for anyone to attend. If you're a parent, if you're in workplace, if you're an educator, you can come along and you get an informed choice about dyslexia. And there's things like, there's the autism event, there's the special needs learner, they're amazing events for the right demographic. And I was like, there's 6.9 million people in the UK with some severity of dyslexia. That's 10% of the population. We need to have more of a national presence. We need to have that growth. And that's where it came from. It came from that idea. I created it. I went to Dyslexia Box. They gave me my first sponsorship and really encouragement and support. And I went, okay, let's go and do it. And I went to like our three kind of lead sponsors. So scanning, Clara Reed, Scanning Pens, and Nessie. I'd actually worked as a contractor for all three of them, so I knew their managing directors really well. And being open and honest, I did some support with them. Yeah. And I basically pitched the idea, and all three of them said, yeah, here's the support. And they were able, and so I changed the NEC perspective on me. So the NEC did a thing called what they call, it was contract under confirmation or something like this. It was some weird wording. They basically, they'd done a lot of new business shows that had got to the point where they're like 3 or 4 months out and they just failed. So the concept is that the NEC had invested time to get them to that point, and basically then the show was pulled. So kind of they lost money in that concert. So I had to always update the NEC on the progress. And when I said that we had 14 sponsors, we were up to 35 exhibitors, and we'd already got 2,500 people registered. They went, oh, and I went, and oh yeah, and now I've just got this, and this new sponsor's coming on board, and we're just doing this. And they went, and I've got Michael Vinesh from Microsoft speaking in our workplace. And that's when I was at, I'd gone to the NEC for a meeting, and the guy and the business development guy went, can you just go away and write another show for us and do some kind of other event for us? And I went, yeah, okay. So I started a plan. I've got another event that we'll announce. That we should be neurodiversity. No, it's an education event. It's an education event. It's purely around education. But the point of it is that we can't do it yet. We should be doing it next year. Right. But we've had this thing called a global pandemic.
Yes.
That kind of
causing a bit of problem. Yes.
So we fast forward from 2019 to like 2000. We planned it for March 2020. We had 42 exhibitors, 19 sponsors, just over 5,000 people registered. Momentum was good. We have an amazing team. There is only 4 of us, and we're all part time. There's no members of staff. Everyone's a contractor. It is literally that kind of event. And we got to that point, and 2 weeks before it, we had to make that horrible decision. I remember on the Thursday night, made that decision that I need to make the announcement tomorrow that we're going to pull the show. And I spoke to the exhibitor. I spoke to the 4 main sponsors of the show, and went, what's your thoughts? And they went, that's fine, do it. And we did it. We thought we'll be back. So we planned to do it in September 2020. That never happened. We planned to do it in September 2021. And that would just be, when we planned that, it was just like the rules to get to that point were just so hard. And the biggest thing was that the biggest demographic we have coming is the education market. And at that time in September, we never knew if any head teacher was going to allow any teachers out. So we then went, you know what? We're going to make the decision. We're going to do it in March 2022. We've got to be in a better position. And I think that we are in a better position. We know a lot more about COVID. We know a lot more about what mitigates it. We know we have got vaccines. We've got some treatments. We've got a variant that is a little bit lower than others. Having had COVID, having just coming out of COVID jail myself, knowing how I felt, and we know everyone's different. But the point about it is that the event is there to change people's lives, and I will keep saying it's an informed choice. You can say that we've got 5 now independent schools coming. It's not an easy decision. I've been very lucky to work in a number of independent schools over the past 3 years to support them. And there's a reason why children have to go there. Not every child needs to go there, but there is a reason why some children have to go there. And to me, that is the thing that actually, if you have a child, and in one sense, I could have been one of them children. I could have been one of them children that had to have gone. And if my parents had afforded it, well, my parents paid for everything for me. They did. They paid for anything and everything for me. They paid for them lessons. They paid for that support. So for me, it's all about that informed choice. If you need to do it, you do it. If you need to buy some software, if you need to buy a book, if you need to buy a resource, you need to know it's there. You need to know that information is there. You need to know, oh, that might work for me. That might work for you. That might not work for me at all. And if you don't see it, and you can't go and touch it, and can't go and feel it, and can't go and look at it, how do you know it's there? You don't know what you don't know.
No, you don't. And that's something I've discovered a lot, particularly in the sort of year and a bit now, really. The website's been live, how much stuff is out there. So I'm imagining walking into the Dyslexia Show, and it's going to have lots of stalls out with people exhibiting everything. Correct. As well as all your speakers, and they're split into 3 different areas, aren't they? So if I've walked through the door of the Dyslexia Show, how am I imagining it's going to look?
So when you walk through the door, theoretically, it's at the NEC in Birmingham. It's in Hall 8, and we're using about probably just over half the hall. Now that hall is about 4,500 square feet, so about just over 3,000 square feet we're using of space. Now, to put that into perspective, I would say it's probably about 2 football pitches, give or take, next to each other. Probably a bit less, give or take. It's a good amount of space. So you walk into the show, the first thing you'll see is 2 big stands, and there's kind of sponsor stands. You'll see stands around the outside. Now, on the left-hand side, when you walk on the left side, you'll see what we call the BDA Village. You've got the British Dyslexia Association stand, and you've got 5 local dyslexia associations. So these are local groups to the area of Birmingham. So anything from Northamptonshire, Leicestershire, Leeds and Bradford are coming down. So it's kind of that kind of Midlands, Northern kind of group of dyslexia associations to support local people, right? And then you've got kind of blocks of stands, and we've got like Claro software there. We've got Read Successfully there from Trugs. We've got who else? I'm trying to remember who's on the list. You know what? I'm going to look at this this thing here, because on the computer next to me I have the stand plan next to me. So as soon as you walk in, you're going to see the Nessie stand, and that's going to be amazing. Because I know what they've got planned. I'm really looking forward to see their stand. On the other side, you've got like people like Fairley House, Lexplore, Crossbow Education that do like loads of education resources, phonic books, flexi tables, and then there's things like the Davis method, which is a different way of thinking, which is good for some people.
It worked really well for me.
Morell's handwriting, and like I said, you've got Cavendish Education, which own a number of independent schools. There's a sponsor next to them, but I can't tell you who that is yet because it's not been announced. Send Books, like B Squared with their Send podcast, 5 Minute Boss, Dyslexia Matters.
Is it going to be an interactive kind of thing? I know each stand is going to do something different, but if I've heard about, take reading pens for example.
Scanning pens,
Scanning pens. And I've heard about them on various things. Am I going to be able to grab your hands on one and try it?
Yeah, of course you are. You're going to be able to buy one, you're going to be able to touch one, you're going to be able to watch the demo of one. And that's the whole point of it, is that say that you're a parent and you were at one part of your journey and you've heard of this and you want to see it. So that's how you see it. You could be a parent that's at the other end of the journey and you're going, you know what, my child needs to be in private education. And that's why you need to go there. You might be that point where you go, you know, I really want to know more about dyscalculia. So I'm going to go and listen to Steve Chin or Judy Hornigold. I've heard this person called Matthew Head, who talks about dyslexia life hacks. And I want to go and hear him speak because he does his podcast. And he's there on and I've heard it's very good as well. And he's there on Thursday. And that's the thing, is that the whole point of it is there is 60 seminars that will go along over the 2 days. Yes. There is 11. There is 4 main keynotes throughout the day over the 2 days, with 11 other sessions, and there's 14 demo sessions, 6 workshop sessions for parents and children, and then what else is there? There's just then 50 plus exhibitors that you can get involved in, and that's the thing is that number of exhibitors for the workplace, and then kind of everyone else is education and parents. It's kind of, they're the two kind of camps. We've only kind of zoned the workplace because that was an area where I hadn't thought of it. And with having Dyslexia Box as the lead sponsor, they were like, well, this is what's working for us. Let's do this. And we went, this is amazing. And actually there's over 600 delegates that have defined themselves as in the workplace. These are anyone from a HR manager, and they have an amazing opportunity because they have there is 11 sessions specifically for them, from anyone from like Michael Vinesh from Microsoft to who else in that one, Neil Milligan from Atos. You've got Darren Clark, who is now with Succeed with Dyslexia. You've got Dr. Amanda Kirby, or Professor Amanda Kirby, who's a leading expert in neurodiversity. That's just, it's the array of people in that workplace zone. And then of course Dr. Deborah Leroy, who is kind of like just an amazing speaker and being dyslexic herself, and kind of talks about how you can really support people. That is just amazing. And then for them people, you see, it's £79 for them, and that just, it's not expensive. It's for 2 days. It's just really cost effective for them, and they get like support from Dyslexia Box. It's just a brilliant concept for them. And then like all education sessions are £17, and we've got people like Neil Mackay, Steve Chin. Who else is there? There is. The people the thing what it is I just can't remember, because I've invited all these people 2 years ago, and so for me it's like 2 years have passed. I've done a lot of things in them 2 years, but like let's have a look. Education speakers, you've got, like I said, so Dr. Lindsay Peer, Professor Steve Chin, Becky Hornigold. Becky Hornigold's amazing speaker. Judy Hornigold, sorry, Becky Hawes, Judy Hornigold. Too many H's there. Yep. Pete Jarrett, Dr. Susie Nyman, Kathy Parvin, Lorraine Peterson, David Williams, Hayley Mason, Katrina Cochran, Professor Julia Carroll, Neil Mackay, Dr. Faye, I can never say Faye's last name, Kerry Hill, Dr. Amelia Roberts, Dr. Angela Thompson, Samantha Garner, and there's Finton Regan. There's so many more. That's just in education. And that thing is that you can't always see all of them. There's no way you're going to be able to see all of them people. No, but you pick people you want to see. And the thing about it is, it's for £17. You get to watch them for 45 minutes. You get to interact with them. You get a CPD certificate that you can take back to your school. And that is the way you're going to get information. It's the way you're going to get that information. Like Pete Jarrett is doing a talk on Maths 4.0. What it is about, it's going to be amazing. And that's the point. And then you've got your parents. Parents like just don't know where they are. And like someone like Penny Aston. Penny Aston, like I mentioned earlier, she's done this whole concept around talking to consultant. She's all about, what's the word, counselling, and it's just a different way of thinking. You're speaking. Helen Ross. I'm just trying to look. See, it's interesting. Like John Hicks is just brilliant, and that's interesting. There's a speaker not on there that I thought was on there. She's on the other one, but not on that one. So I need to go and find out if she's on too. So this is the thing you see, is that you've got these speakers there that are there to support people, and they're just going to give you advice, and it's impartial. That's what their job is. That's what they do. And like Dr. Lindsay Peer, again, going back to the BDA, she used to be the deputy CEO of the BDA.
Right.
She's one of the leading experts in dyslexia in the world today. Next to her, and there's a professor called Maggie Snowlin that is kind of one of the leading researchers in dyslexia. And Lindsay Pearce wrote loads of books, and all she does is spend her life at the moment in educational tribunals, trying to ensure that kids get the support they need. And that is a hard thing to do. It's not an easy role.
It's not a fun role at all.
It's not a fun role, but she changed people's lives. The thing that makes me laugh is all these people have told me they're retiring, and I haven't seen it yet. So I'm hoping they'll all be here with us next year. But, for a show that was meant to be in its third year, it's going into its first year. 2020, 21, 2022. Yes, there's an on-ment. There's 6,000 people registered to attend.
Wow.
That's the point.
That's impressive. Over 2 days, 6,000 people is going to be really good.
Are we going to get 6,000 people through the door? Maybe. Hopefully. Yeah. I think that my operations manager will have a heart attack if I did. But small things that you find out when you're when you're doing an event. You have a thing called a fire regulation.
You do.
And which I know about. I knew about it, but it's not as big as you think. And it's like, okay, people management plans come in. And this is the thing you see, is that the whole concept about the events industry and like kind of being a little bit political about the pandemic. The events industry is a £70 billion industry. And it's the hardest industry that's been hit. It's the only industry that's not been supported. And kind of like you look at the regulations that were announced pre-Christmas about showing vaccine certificates and lateral flow tests, that's been in since September last year in events. I couldn't go to the NEC without proving that I'd either had a vaccine or I'd had a negative lateral flow. And and just to put it out there, I have to pay for that person to check that.
Yes.
It's not
in your show, yes.
In my show, yes. In my show. Not you don't as a delegate, but for the Dyslexia Show, I do as the organizer. But the point of that is it's the right thing to do.
Of course.
And it's the right thing to do to get people to just have that informed choice. And that's the whole point of it. It's like, I am a severely dyslexic adult. I'm a person that wants people to understand what's there for them as a dyslexic, as a parent, as a child, as an adult, that actually you're not alone. The one thing that I remember about going to the Leicestershire Dyslexia Association when I was 9 is realising that I wasn't alone.
No, and I wish I had done something similar as a kid.
And that's the thing you see. And that thing is that we have laws in the UK to support people with differences. We have the Equality Act. We have education, health and care plans for children in schools. We have SEND, special education needs support for SENCOs to use. We have pupil premium top-up funding in certain local authorities. We have in universities currently disability student allowance, and in the workplace we have access to work. But if you don't know that's there, how do you use it? How do you access it? It is, and that thing. It's like the one really cool thing we've got is we're going to. One thing I knew there was one thing that's happening. So we're offering to parents a legal surgery. So this is free advice from Send Legal. There is only about 25 spaces over the days. It's not been open yet. It's not open yet. So if you're watching, listen to the podcast, parents will know about it as soon as we open it. It's a £10 deposit. You get your £10 back if you attend it. So you don't. So the concept is just to confirm your spot. You pay £10, you get that £10 back. We will refund that to you as long as you turn up. And basically that's 15 minutes that you'll have a conversation with a legal expert about either the state of your EHCP, where you need to be in an assessment, what you feel about it. And the other option as well is that if a teacher wants to do that, they can also do it. So it's not just for parents. If a school wants to have that, because Send Legal don't just work with parents, they also work with schools as well. So they also do the other thing. So they also do both sides of the argument if need be. Yeah. And that's the thing. So it's just going to be an amazing event.
It sounds super impressive, and people listening, I encourage you to go have a look at the website and look at all the speakers that are there. There's a lot of exhibitors. And I know which hall that one is, and that is going to be massive. Walking through that, I think I'm going to spend most of the time wandering around all the stands. I'm probably in the scrum of people if you've got 6,000 people already registered.
The 6,000 people registered, but that's the thing you see is that the thing about what it is, if we have that many people turn up, I'll be very happy. I'll be happy.
Of course you will be.
I'll be happy with as many people there. The thing about it is free to register, so you don't have to pay to register. It is free to register. The only thing that we say, if you are going to register, please confirm you're coming. The only thing that we have at this moment in time is that yes, we do have certain rules about COVID, and we just want to, and that is that we just need to know who's attending. And if you are registering, if you're not going to attend, let us know. Cancel your booking, because that just helps us to actually kind of ensure we know where we're going. And that's just little things like that we wouldn't have had to done 3 years ago. We wouldn't have had to worry about that.
Of course,
it is, and that's the thing. But it's just an amazing. I can't wait. And the thing that you won't see, unfortunately, Matt, is I go in at 5 a.m. on the Thursday morning.
Mm-hmm.
I pick up a set of keys and I open, and the security guard opens this door, and a lorry comes in. And this lorry comes in, and what happens is that lorry will drop a load of carpet and a load of thing called shell skiing, and then another lorry will come in with 27 flight cases of lights and sound equipment and TVs. And then this thing just happens, and then basically these walls go up, and you go from literally a black floor to a pink floor, because the show is pink. There'll be a pink carpet.
Yep.
And it is literally just an amazing change in the concept of things, and it's just, we just have this amazing concept, and we just see this thing grow, and then 60 exhibitors turn up, and then on Friday morning at 9:30, Friday the 25th of March 2020 at 9:30, you will at 9:27 you will see the doors open. You will see me with whoever, and that may be the CEO of the NEC. We don't know. It may be just me and my team there with that ribbon. We cut the ribbon. Everyone starts queuing up. All of our exhibitors go back to their stands, and we then open the show. And at 10 o'clock, I take the stage for our first keynote with all the dyslexia charities in the UK. So there's 4 main dyslexia charities in the UK, and ask them the question, dyslexia today. And it's a 30-minute keynote that I'm chairing. And it's the only time I'm allowed to be on the keynote stage, because the operations manager has told me, you need to manage the show. So it's when I take off the 17 walkie-talkies and the 4 telephones I'm holding and the 12 clipboards, because that's what it's going to be like.
Yes.
and we do that. It's like that. And I have got one member of staff that's really excited that she gets to wear a pink high vis. But the one thing she says is, can I put my name on it? And I went, yeah, of course you can. And that's the most important thing. And then my daughter is really looking forward to attending on the Saturday, because she's expecting me to give her a walkie-talkie so she can look like the security guard.
I think security guard might be a touch taller though somehow.
well, I don't know. You never know. I could see her with a walkie-talkie. That's the thing. Yeah. I have no issue with that. I'm dead sure I've got one that she can have that won't work.
Yeah. There's a random people get across the radio. What's going on? Yeah.
That's right. But no, isn't it?
That nicely circles me back, actually, touching back onto your daughter. You mentioned earlier about being a governor at the school, school, and how seeing a school from the inside, rather than seeing it as we all have, And I'm sure, like myself, we went to school in a similar area because we're only a year different in age, got diagnosed dyslexia before we were 10.
Yeah.
And then kind of battled with the whole thing all the way through to college and in my case, university in my late 20s. How are you seeing it from the other side and the struggles and challenges they're having that way?
I think the thing what it is that for me, I since I've worked for the BDA and what I do now, I work in the field of education. So I'm kind of always in that education sphere. I'm always talking to parents. I'm always looking at policy. With the role that I do with Microsoft as their consent consultants, I'm in and out of schools all the while in different parts of the country, in different parts of the world. So actually for me, there's a real benefit to the school as well to me. The thing that I like about it is that being a governor, you're following kind of statutory guidelines of managing and supporting that school. And we've gone through many things. We've even gone through the concept of getting a new head teacher. And that's in the last 6 months, which is an amazing concept for me, because that's a very different thing recruiting someone. So recruiting someone for Dyslexia Show as a contractor is really easy. Recruiting a head teacher is really hard work, and that is a lot of time. We mentioned time about the BDA. That is a lot of time. But I always say, if you're going to ask someone to do it, you might as well ask a busy person.
Yes,
it's like for me. So today I've had the day I recorded this podcast, I've had a meeting with my support worker, with my support worker to do with a project we're working on. Then a meeting with the Hotel for Dyslexia Show. Then I had a meeting with my graphic designer. Then I had a meeting with one of the other directors for Read Successfully about product. I then had a meeting with my wife about the new website we're building for that company. Then I had a meeting with the volunteer manager at the BDA about the new technologies. Sorry, the technology advisory group that I'm acting chair of, which is an advisory group of the BDA. Then I had a conversation with a treasurer from my local scout group, because I'm supporting them with the scout campsite. I then had a training session for Microsoft. I then had lunch or dinner, and then dinner. Lunch was a slice of cheese and some ham. No bread. That was what it was. And then I came back in the office and had a conversation with you. And as soon as I finish this podcast, I'm going to go to a scout leaders meeting.
Wow.
And that's just today. But that is the thing, you see, is that, so I love being busy and I love having that kind of concept, but I can only do that with the team I have around me. And that's the thing. So being a school governor, it is kind of a really interesting thing, because actually there's a team of governors there that have been really supportive, and just some amazing things. We interviewed the head teacher, and the head teacher did a presentation, and the last thing they did is they did a word cloud and had it playing music. So I was impressed just with the music and the word cloud, and them not having to click a button. They'd done some amazing PowerPoint work. Forgetting that I can't actually read the words, and actually not second nature to me worrying about it. So this is the thing. I didn't worry about it. There's no issue for me to worry about it. I could decode some of them. The gentleman that's a member of the committee, of the trustee board, just leaned over and whispered all the words to me. And actually, in one sense, I could cry now because of that support. Because actually, that is the thing, you see, is that is being inclusive. There is no issue with that. There is no issue with me. I have no issue with being dyslexic. And that thing is that if we're talking on a webinar, if we're talking on a podcast, dyslexia is a disability, in my opinion. And that's only because society makes it a disability. Because we live in a literal world. And I mean that by we live in a literacy world. And literacy is what drives us. We are genetically coded to speak and listen. We are taught to read and write. That is the concept.
Yes, I see where you're going.
Yeah. So the concept is that talking is our natural concept. Listening is a natural concept. Mm-hmm. Reading and writing is kind of something we are taught to do, and society teaches us to do it. So therefore, that's why when you're dyslexic, these are the things you may find. Not every dyslexic, but my friend, one of my best friends is dyslexic, and it's amazing for him. He can go to work, he can take a forklift truck engine apart and put it back together again and put all the bits back into it. I can take a computer apart and put 99%. There might be one screw that I forget to put back in.
But it still works.
It still works. I have taken a gearbox apart for on a dumper truck that I had at the Scout campsite, and there's a few things that are still left on top of the dumper truck for someone else to mend, because I am not an engineer like that, and that's the thing. But you put me in front of you talking about my dyslexia, talking about the word dyslexia, like we've been doing. I have no issue with that. Going in front of that stage at the dyslexia or any event talking about dyslexia, I have no issue with it. I just enjoy it, and I think that thing is that we have to give people an informed choice. We have to spread the awareness that dyslexia, yes, is a disability in certain eyes, but it also it can be a gift. It can be that superpower that changes your life and can actually make you do things that you enjoy doing it. And that's what you wouldn't be doing this podcast if you didn't enjoy it. And I wouldn't be running 5 companies, give or take, that all have something linked to dyslexia and special needs.
Yes.
Because we know them children need that. And that's it. And actually what you said about being as a school governor, the other thing I see them young people. I saw young people, how actually I never, you kind of look at your own child and go, actually, oh, that child did that. Now, if they did that now, we would actually go, we know what, that's this issue. We need to have a conversation about this. And back then it's like, no, get out, you're expelled or you're excluded. And that's the difference you see now, is that we have a little bit more understanding. We have a little bit more kind of awareness. And that's the whole point of it is we just need to keep moving forward. And it's not been easy. It's not been hard. It's also been difficult. It's also been difficult, but it's also been most supportive. When we did dyslexia, we did a Dyslexia Show virtual. We did that, and I couldn't read the last session we ran. A parent wrote something, and I couldn't read it. I started reading it, and I burst into tears because it was so supportive and so emotionally driven that actually that she'd been listening and thinking about now. She said that we're in a pandemic. Her son wasn't going to school. He's probably about 10, and she's listened to these 3 days. And in between each session, they have this person called Arran Smith who's introducing them, who's commenting and talking about it and saying that he's dyslexic. And she's never known her son to actually want to hear me more, and how that's just changed her life and his life. And that, to me, I remember it now because I did read it afterwards, but I couldn't read it. I had to tell. It was John Hicks, who is one of the speakers in Parents. He was on my last session, and I said to John, "I'm not going to introduce you. I'm going to just shut up and let you carry on because I can't speak now." So it is amazing. But no, I think it's brilliant. Dyslexia is what it is. It is a learning difference that affects your day-to-day life. That's why it's a disability under the Equality Act. Yes. But
there are the tools that are coming out and growing all the time, which obviously your work with Microsoft starts to touch into some of that. And I know you develop things around
Microsoft it's an amazing concept that actually that I can open up the Edge browser and press the right mouse button and it reads it out loud to me.
Yeah.
I was doing the demonstration. I was doing the school training earlier. And there was an article which unfortunately I closed it. I wanted to keep it open because I wanted to re-listen to it. And it was all about Zoe Wanamaker, who was in the first. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. Was in the first Harry Potter film, and it was talking about why she only was in the first one and didn't stay in all the others. And I never got to that bit. But I pressed the right mouse and started listening to it. Now I listen. My text to speech is really fast. I have it quite fast because I've been using it for 10 years. So I have it quite fast, so I can listen quite a lot. And and I forgot that actually I was training because I was so immersed in this concept. I went, oh, I need to now go on to the next thing, don't I, really? Because I was just like listening to this article. And that's the point, you see, is that actually that is just built in. I can just open up Word online and I can dictate. Yeah. And think about what it is. It's free for every school. That's the point.
Yes.
That's the point. And that's why I do it. You see, I do things like I've worked with scanning pens. I think scanning pens is a brilliant product. I think it's a brilliant thing. Something that a lot of people use. I think it's a brilliant idea for an exam. I think it helps save money for schools. I think it does a job at the time. I think that when I worked for Nessie is a brilliant product. It's a very different product. It's not an assistive technology tool. It's an education tool. And it works for lots of young people. It allows children to use their software to learn to read and spell. And yeah, we all need to be taught that in some way. But I think that then you may need to use immersive reader built into Office 365. You may need to use Clara software or text up if you're at work. You may need to use Dragon or dictation or TalkSpeak. If you need to use it, you use it. And that's things like we use things like Alexa and Google and Google Assist. It's assistive technology. We use a sat nav. That's the thing. I've said to people when I've talked about assistive technology, go and look at. I've held up a set of headphones before, and they say that's not assistive technology. I went, okay, close your eyes. Can you see? And they go, no. And I went, so how are you going to use a cash machine if you can't see? And they go, I don't know. I said, well, you're going to plug your headphones into the jack socket that has been created to be an assistive technology tool. So they press the button and then the screen reader comes on. And that's the thing is that yes, dyslexia can be debilitating. It can be depressive. It can be negative, but it also can be positive. And that's what we have to look at. And tools can support that. And that's where Microsoft has really moved forward with that, because they're a company that has a CEO that understands disability inclusion with his son Zane, who has cerebral palsy. They have a chief accessibility officer who's deaf, who is an amazing character. Jenny Leigh Fleury is just amazing. They have evangelists that have worked in the disability space, like Hector Mento. Their accessibility advisor, Michael Manesh, who's coming to Dyslexia Show, is autistic. And it's just an amazing guy to work with. They've employed me as a dyslexic to talk about dyslexia tools and a person that uses dyslexic tools. So that's innovative thinking. We're using people and using talent properly, because that's the next thing. You see, that's the next thing the Dyslexia Show will do, is that we are changing the narrative for the workplace, that actually people with neurodiversity are just amazing. It's just, let's move forward. It is. And this podcast has gone left, right, up, down, round in circles.
So it's all right. It's a bit like the movie Memento, but that's fine. Yeah,
that's fine. Yeah. You're going to have fun editing it, aren't you?
Yes. But I don't mind editing. Set headphones on and a couple of hours, which should be all done. But it's been interesting, and actually, you can hear your dyslexic brain, and mine's doing the same as host, trying to keep all the threads going. And I hope the audience understand have a listen to how brains work verbally, where we actually are spinning the multiple threads, and we'll come back to that one over here and link the other conversation in, but we've gone round this other thing and found this other interesting thing over here. And then we come back to the thread we had spinning at the beginning of the show, and then we go back over here and then back to the Dyslexia Show. And that's
called shiny plate syndrome, or shiny thing syndrome.
Very shiny thing syndrome. But that's the whole point of a long form podcast. We can do this kind of stuff. So I'm going to round the show out with a couple of rapid fire questions. I'm going to say they don't need rapid fire answers from you, but I'm not sure.
Let's try it. Let's do it. Let's get it.
Answers.
Go for it.
So if you've heard this before, you might know these. But the first one is, what prejudice do you have about dyslexia that's been proven wrong?
What prejudice do I have about dyslexia? You know what? Because my brain is going, what does prejudice mean in this concept? And that's like, I actually don't know if I can answer that question. Explain it again. What do you mean by prejudice?
So a sort of preconceived idea that you had about dyslexia, and the question is asking you, what preconceived idea did you have about dyslexia you've later been proven wrong?
I don't think I had a I think for me, I was diagnosed at the right time in my life. I was still a child, and so to me, I lived my life like I did. I didn't really know anything different. The relief was the thing. That was the concept, the relief.
Okay.
So the label was not a prejudiced, but before not having that label was the prejudiced, because actually that was the thing with having it changed the persona, I think.
Okay. Oh no, that's an interesting answer to that question. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, actually, you just lived it, and not end up with some of the negative feelings about it. Which dyslexia is my life, so I wouldn't have a negative feeling about it. I get very depressed with it sometimes. Okay.
Looking at lockdown 1, that was difficult. I went in like postponing the show. Was probably the dark thing. The thing what happened, postponing the show, my brain opened up, that imagination reappeared, that kind of like, oh, we can do this, I can do this, and go and do this, rather than need to focus on this, need to do this, need to do this, and straight down the line focus concept. But then after that, it was like, oh, I'm not going to the office this morning. I'll go to the office in about 2 hours. I'll watch this video on social media, and 3 hours later, I need to go in the office to make one phone call, then I'll come out again. It wasn't until I got over that bit, that's when I kind of moved forward.
Fair enough. I get that. Right, my next question. If an alien come down, how would you describe dyslexia to them?
If an alien came down, how would I describe dyslexia? I would give them a copy of the English language, because to them, that is dyslexia.
I like that.
Yeah. So just being very open and kind of like, the English language is probably one of the hardest languages to learn anyway.
Oh, yes.
With 26 letters, 44 sounds, and loads of other things that go on. To me, that's the thing. Yeah. Read this book as an alien. That is kind of saying, that is being very stereotypical though. So let's just put it out there. That's being really stereotypical about dyslexia.
Yeah, it is.
But that's a very kind of crude, but I can say that answer.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. And the final quickfire question of the podcast, being that this is the Dyslexia Life Hacks show, do you have any dyslexia life hacks?
Have a support network. That's the biggest thing. Being open about your dyslexia. There's having that support, having no issue going into a room and saying, sorry, can you read this to me? I can't read it. I have no issue. And it is being knowledgeable, because that's where confidence comes from. I know the Equality Act. I know the rules and the laws. I know it enough to interpret it in the way that I can say, no, you need to give me this support. Yeah. And that's the thing. And I have had many cases where even things like my mortgage was changed because they did not make it accessible enough for me.
Oh, wow.
Because I won on the technicality that they told me something was a date, but they had the word product number at the top of the table. And then, oh no, that's the product date. What was this product number? There's no dashes and no slashes. Mm-hmm. That's not dyslexia, friend. It's not even accessible for anyone.
No, it's not at all.
So you can't do that. They said tough, but the ombudsman agreed, and they matched what they should have matched in the first place. So, and that's the thing you see, is that you have to have you have to have knowledge to be confident, but having that support network, being able for me to make an announcement on Alexa and ask my wife how to spell something, or being able to say to that person, what is that acronym? Just explain that acronym to me. And literally, like I mentioned, that I'm helping at the local campsite, and I've told our what we call the district commissioner that I'm severely dyslexic. He said I wouldn't even know it. And I went, I know you wouldn't, because I don't hide it. I'm just a high functioning dyslexic until you read my content.
Yes, yeah.
That's the thing.
Until you don't look like a dyslexic person.
No. Yeah. Oh yeah, no. I've never had that. You don't look dyslexic. That's the thing. There is a lot of people in the TikTok sphere, I'm going to use as the common terminology, that are neurodiverse.
Yes,
And that is an interesting concept that there's a few people that do that have that. Oh, you don't look dyslexic, or you don't look autistic. It's like, no, we don't. We are it's just the way our brain is coded, and that's who we are. And we should just live our lives in the way that we feel works for us, and have put us on that level playing field with everyone else.
Yes, I agree. So just before I sign this podcast off, where can people find you and the Dyslexia Show? If you want to get social media links.
So you can follow me on Twitter. Best way to find me at Arran Dyslexia. I do like Twitter. You can find Arran Dyslexia on Facebook and also me on LinkedIn. Dyslexia Show, go to dyslexiashow.co.uk, and it's spelled Dyslexia. Dyslexia, Greek word. This means problem. Lexia means words. That's where dyslexia comes from. Dyslexiashow.co.uk. Register for free. If your workplace, £79. Educators, £17 per CPD session. Parents, £9 per CPD session. It's an amazing concept. So much out there for Dyslexia Show. Starts on 25th, 26th of March. If you want to find out more about Send Group, you can go to sendgroup.co.uk. And I do have a blog called Arran Dyslexia, but as Matthew said, or Matt said, it's not. It needs a lot of work, which I do agree with. But like I said, just follow me on Twitter.
No worries. Well, thank you for taking your evening out to spend some time with me and talk through the show, as well as lots and lots of other things. And I want to thank everybody else for listening. You get the show notes at dyslexialifehacks.com/podcast. And I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye for now.
Take care.